Welcome to After the Paycheck, the series dedicated to helping people to and through the retirement process. I'm your host, Adam Bly. This week I am here with Sam Lang of Rubino & Lang Wealth Partners.
Always good to be here.
Is
that what I'm supposed to say? Always good to be here?
Always good to be only if you feel that way. I mean, I'm not going to force you to say it.
Fantastic being here.
It's great. It is great. I love doing these video series because it's a chance for people to kind of, like from an on-demand perspective, get some education about their retirement process. If they're a little confused, they're afraid to speak to someone, but they have questions. They have these opportunities to watch these and really learn.
And also, it's a little different take than, say, the podcast or the radio show because I feel like it's a little more real. You get to see kind of what we look like.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's more.
Sort of with these high-def cameras now, it's really you can really see everything.
No, but it's fun. It's fun sharing some ideas and, answer some questions.
Yeah. And questions, a lot of things that I think that people have in their retirement planning process is there's really four main issues that affect retirement here right now in like 2023, heading into 2024 really. And those are, longer retirement. You talk about this all the time. People are living longer, healthier lives in their retirement years. Right. There's inflation, which it's like the hot word of the day. Like everyone keeps talking about.
Well,
inflation.
just yesterday it came back. The numbers went up again from 3.2 to 3.7. So sure, yeah.
And so it's always something that's very top of mind for people, especially when you're in retirement and you're not earning that more money. Like that type of stuff can creep in. But also market volatility and what we're going to talk about today, which is knowing the right amount to withdraw from your retirement accounts in retirement.
Correct.
Which I think is something that a lot of people don't really think about until it's that time.
It's kind of like, planning for the big days, say a wedding. I mean, you don't do it the month before, you do it a year before.
Yeah.
So all of those things that you talked about, longevity, market volatility, inflation, and then, what's the right amount or the percentage that we can take from our savings, that all they all go hand in hand.
Right.
Because if you live too long and you withdraw too quickly, there might be nothing left. Right. So we don't want that.
Yep. Let's get right into it. Actually, right. Let's talk about let's discuss what type of methods and strategies there are, and then we'll talk about how to determine which one is right for you, and maybe some like rules or some other factors that you should really think about as we go through these different types of like methods or strategies. Okay. So the different types of distribution methods are, we have stay put, right?
Stay as is. Leave your employer and just leave the plan there.
Okay.
Is that what you mean? Okay, yeah. Yep. You can do that.
You could take a lump sum.
Probably not the best idea because if you take the lump sum, it depends on how large the lump sum is.
Right.
Maybe you worked for a place and you left 6 months later and, your 401k is whatever, $4,000 and you say, just give it to me, clean it up. That's probably fine, but if it's $400,000, you don't want to take it as a lump sum because now you're taxed on $400,000.
Perfect. Yeah. And then there's systematic withdrawals, which is could you do percentage, or is it usually just like a fixed amount?
Some clients do percentage. Oh, absolutely. It's your money. You can take it out however you want. But generally speaking, it's I'd say 9 out of 10 times people, as they go into retirement, the number one thing is to figure out, how much am I short every month? Because I used to make a paycheck. Now my paycheck's gone. Yeah, great, I'm collecting Social Security, but that's probably only a fraction of what you're used to.
Okay.
So if you spend, say, $7,000 a month and your Social Security is, just call it $4,000 a month between you and your spouse, you're short $3,000 a month. Pretty simple math.
Okay.
So you might set up a way to say, hey, you know what? Every month, just send me $3,000 a month, sort of creating my own additional paycheck. And that's a great way to do a systematic withdrawal from your investments or your retirement plans.
Okay. So now that we're talking about what these types of distribution methods are, let's talk a little bit more about how or what some factors are that may help us figure out what these methods should be.
I mean, there's a lot of things, right? One, your age.
Right.
Are you under 59 and a half? And if that's the case, and you probably don't want to take from your retirement accounts because not only are they taxable, but if you're under 59 and a half, you can't take it without a federal IRS penalty.
Okay.
I mean, there's ways around it. It's called 72T, but we won't get into that in this session. But generally speaking, you probably want to not do that.
Okay.
So age is a factor.
Okay.
Other sources of income is a factor. Maybe, we have some clients that have strong rental income.
Okay.
Right? They were, I have one client that's air conditioning HVAC business owner, and he started buying properties, and before you know it, he's got 10 buildings, and he's collecting very handsome rents.
Right.
So if you have cash flow coming in, maybe you don't need to take money from your investment. So maybe it's just very little. So that's one of the calculations that you want to figure out. But there's really a lot of things that go into play. Maybe you have good genes in your family.
Yep.
My dad lived to 97. My mom lived to 95.
Wow.
So if I was going to collect Social Security, maybe I want to sign up for the larger check for the rest of my life rather than taking it early. So if I'm saying, hey, you know what, I got some funds over here. I'm 65, and I'm going to delay taking my Social Security to 70. Well, I might aggressively take down my IRAs for the next 5 years. So I guess the answer to your question is it really depends on your particular situation. But there's a lot of things that go into figuring out what is the right way and what is the right method.
Right. So let's role play here for a little bit.
Right.
So to go into again, thinking about all those factors you just said that might come in. If I am someone who wants to stay put, right? You're saying okay, I've worked 3 or 4 jobs over the years, and I've got 3 or 4 different IRAs. Mm-hmm. I'm now 65. I have rental income properties. Let's go with the scenario you just said. Rental income properties. I'm 65. I think I'm going to live a fairly long life because my good genetics. Yep. Is there a problem with just kind of leaving my money there for a longer amount of time?
I mean, that's certainly not a problem. But the question is there something else that you can be doing that's better? Okay. Right. From an organizational standpoint, if you have 4 accounts, let me ask you, would it be easier to manage 1 account or 4 accounts?
Okay.
Right.
So an option could be to roll all of that into 1 account.
Sure. Okay. Consolidate. Just from a bookkeeping standpoint, it's a little bit easier.
Okay.
The second thing is you might have 4 different accounts, and who's to say they're overlapping in terms of, what they're supposed to be doing? Are they all growth? Are they growth in income? Are they somewhere in between? Are they all safe?
Okay.
So you want to have everything work in synergy, not really against each other.
Right.
So if it's in one place, it's probably a little bit easier to figure out and to manage. And then lastly, traditionally speaking, and it's not always the case, but most 401ks, there's fees.
Right.
And nobody's going to work for nothing. But typically speaking, the average 401k fees are a smidge higher than, let's say, if you had your own IRA. Because if you had your own IRA, you can pretty much own anything you want.
Okay.
And with today's interest rates, maybe you're just perfectly happy with getting 5%. So you can go to the bank and buy a 1-year, 2-year CD earning probably close to 5% today, whereas that might not exist in the 401k. So from a choice standpoint, from a fee standpoint, from an organizational and bookkeeping standpoint, probably makes a little bit more sense of sort of managing your own rather than staying put and leaving it at the former employers.
Okay. So even though, again, like I said, I've got rental income coming in, I'm going to take Social Security, and that'll be enough to cover my expenses. I don't even care about what these older 401ks are doing right now. It still might make sense to consolidate them just from a fee standpoint.
Listen, when push comes to shove, everybody cares, right? Everybody cares about maximizing their returns, reducing their fees. So just to be sort of cavalier about, hey, I'll just leave it alone because I don't need the money.
Right.
Not to say that's not a good thing to do, but there might be something better. Just as I said, consolidate, lower the fees if possible, maybe make some better investment choices.
Okay. Yeah. Is there a point where I have to start taking that money out of my 401ks? Yeah,
sure. It's called the required minimum distribution.
Okay.
We have this question all the time. Hey, I don't really need the money. I have a pension. I have Social Security. I got plenty. I don't want to pay taxes.
Okay.
Can I not take the money out? The simple answer is no. You have to take the money out.
You have to take the money out.
Yeah. So the required minimum distribution age for as long as I can remember, going back to the day that I started in this business, has always been age 70 and a half. Lots have changed since the pandemic. We have this new law called the Secure Act 2.0. And long story short, right now it's age 73. So when you reach 73, you're forced to take the money out.
Okay.
Percentage-wise, it's a little less than 4% to start, and then it increases every year as the older you are, the more you have to take out. If you are born after year 1960, me and you, that age is now 75.
Okay.
So I'm in my mid-50s. I got another 20 years to go. When I reach 75, even if I don't need the money, I'm forced to take a little bit of that money out from my retirement plans.
Okay.
pretty simple because Uncle Sam wants his taxes.
Okay. Makes sense.
Always wants his
yeah,
taxes.
I was just going to say, they're always going to get their cut somehow, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's flip this, and not flip this, but like let's say that I am 65. I don't have these rental properties. I don't have a large Social Security check coming to me, and I see some money in older 401ks, and I'm like, you know what? I just want that money now. What are some pros and cons of trying to use that strategy? Like, it's my money. I mean,
listen, if you need the money, you need the money.
Okay.
No way around it.
Okay.
But sometimes people, from a tax sort of planning standpoint, here we are in 2023, almost 2024, our tax rates are going to go up at the end of 2025.
Okay.
So beginning of 2026. So we know at least, and it's not going to go up by a ton, but it's going to go up nonetheless.
Okay.
So would you rather pay a little bit less now or wait 2 years and pay a little bit more? So maybe you don't really need the money.
Okay.
Or you don't need all of it, but maybe it's an opportunity, depending on the tax bracket, what other incomes you have. Again, other factors. Maybe if you need $20,000, but for the next 2 years, maybe you take out $40,000.
Okay.
Pay the tax on the extra 20, bank it someplace else, or invest it some other way. And from a tax standpoint, that might be to your benefit.
Okay. And this is where I've heard you talk about like maybe where conversions come in, right? Where you could take money from a 401k and I think
you can do
kind of
Roth conversions.
Okay.
Roth conversions are basically it's a tax play.
Okay.
It's to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to pay less now and never pay again. So
Okay.
if tax rates go up in the future, 10 years from now, and let's say they double what they are today, that's a gigantic win for you.
Okay.
But that doesn't really go hand in hand with, hey, I need the money to spend now.
Right.
Because if you're doing a conversion, you're not spending the money. You're converting it for you to use later.
Okay. If I'm already taking Social Security at the time where I think about like, oh, you know what, I want to take all of that money out of my 401ks, is there a situation there where that kind of gets murky?
Sure.
Like, okay.
It's called provisional income.
Okay.
So, again, we can spend an entire different show on After the Paycheck show on just provisional income. But Social Security, when it was sort of created back in the 30s and the first check was cut in 1940, that was designed as a tax-free benefit.
Right.
It's no longer. And depending on how much other income you have, of your Social Security benefit, up to 85% of that can be included in your tax return.
Right. Okay.
So simple math, if you have $10,000 worth of Social Security, but you make another $50,000 or you withdraw $50,000 from your 401k plan,
Okay.
now your taxable income is $50,000 because you just withdrew that. And they take half of that $10,000, which would be $5,000, added to your 50, that's 55, and now you pay taxes on the 55. But that would make up to 85% of your Social Security benefit taxable. I know it's a lot of numbers,
Right.
but simple way, if you have too much income, your Social Security is going to be affected.
Right. And I think a lot of people think that like you get taxed at 85% of your Social Security, but it's 85% of that is taxable.
Yeah, so on $10,000, $8,500 of that, which is 85% of $10,000, will be included in your adjustable gross income.
Perfect.
And you pay some taxes, so on.
Okay, perfect. So I guess then going into the third option here, which is kind of like systematic withdrawals, do people then look at a bigger landscape and say, okay, I am taking Social Security. I only want to take X amount out of my retirement accounts in order to make sure that I stay.
I mean, we have people that take money out before they reach the required minimum distribution age. And then we have people that, wait till after that. But for most people, I'd say that we work with, they have some type of an income gap.
Okay.
Right? You need $10,000 a month to sort of float the boat. But your all sources of income combined, maybe let's just say $6,000. So now you need $4,000 more.
Okay. So
you set up a plan, a systematic withdrawal plan, where you take $4,000 a month from your retirement savings. That's kind of easy because it's every month it's there. It's like getting another Social Security check.
Yep.
You don't have to really think about it. The trick there is to make sure you don't take out too much too quickly.
Gotcha.
And where it's invested, if everything goes up always, then we don't have a problem.
Right.
But you and I both know, things go like this.
Right.
So what you don't want to do is get into a situation where you have something called a sequence of returns risk come into play, which is essentially, in plain English, you lose, you withdraw, your accounts go down some more, and it happens in a couple years' time.
Right.
it's not a good situation.
You going back to the simple numbers thing. I think you did a good job about this. Like $10,000, if you're going to take out 4% or whatever, that's $400.
Yep.
Not a lot, but like again, as long
Let's
as you
use
said,
a bigger example. $1 million taking out 40,000.
Yeah. Okay, $1 million, $40,000 a year. Like you said, as long as you're getting growth in your accounts, that's fine, right? As long as you can kind of be into that. But
sort of good news, bad news with today. I mean, as you and I say all the time, it's not your grandfather's retirement anymore.
Right.
But my grandfather probably bought CDs. They went, he might have been in the stock market. He said, hey, you know what? Now I'm retired. I don't need the risk. Who needs that?
Yep.
I want to sleep at night. So I'm going to go to the bank, get 5-6% of my money, and live off of that.
Right.
But we haven't had that conversation in a long time until recently.
Right.
And rates today are, not back to the grandfather's rates, but they're decent.
But that's really just to kind of help with inflation. I think that's been
a little bit
so crazy.
But if you
too, right?
you need just as a Band-Aid, if you get $1
Right.
million and you make 5%,
yep,
and you withdraw, which is $50,000, but you need
withdraw
40,000,
right.
you're still ahead of the game.
Right.
So,
but again, the flip side of that is, let's say your money is in the market and it takes a 10% haircut or something like that. Now you're, instead of having $1 million, you have 900,000. But you still wanted that 40,000 because that's what you budgeted for. Like you said, that income gap. You said, "Oh, I'm going to need over the course of a year $40,000." Right. Now, that's more than
I mean, two things can happen. Let's use an example and we'll make it extreme. Let's say you have a 20% drawdown.
Okay.
Right, $1 million now goes to $800,000, and you set it up on a systematic withdrawal based on a dollar amount.
Right.
And you said, I'm taking out, $3,500 a month or $4,000 a month. Well, that's now a much higher percentage because it's coming out of 800, a smaller number,
yep,
rather than $1 million. So instead of taking out 4%, maybe you're taking out 5.5%. That's not going to be able to last. The second thing is if you set it up as a systematic withdrawal based on a percentage, let's just say it's 4%. 4% of $1 million is $40,000. Well, if your account goes to 800, you just took a pay cut.
Right.
Now you're getting $32,000.
Yep.
Right. So, yeah, there's never a good situation when the money when market goes down and you lose money.
Right. Right. Especially when you're in retirement withdrawing.
Especially
from it. Right.
when you're in retirement.
Okay. So let's say I'm, again, 65 years old. I'm weighing my options right here. I'm getting ready to retire. I've watched this video. I'm thinking, okay, do I want to leave my money there? Do I want to take a lump sum and just try and figure it out myself? Or should I start taking systematic withdrawals? Where should I start by figuring out what my needs are?
Well, it's as simple as figuring out what your budget is.
Okay.
Your budget. I mean, you'd be amazed at how many times if we have a conversation with 100 people, and I ask those 100 people, what is your burn rate? What is your budget? What is your monthly need? Maybe half of those people will know.
Really? Only half?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. The other half, they might have an idea, but they put pen to paper. They're way off.
Yeah.
So if you don't know that, it's very hard to figure out, hey, what is the best method for me?
Okay.
Because if you don't, let's say you don't have an income gap, then we don't really need to worry about what's the best method for you.
Okay.
But if your income gap is gigantic, maybe the way you actually invest the money maybe you have to take on a little bit more risk because that money is not going to last if you draw it down too quickly. Okay. If you calculate that budget and you say, hey, you know what, my income gap comes out to 2% of my net worth, well, that's kind of pretty easy to fix.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say, and everybody's situation is different. But if you are asking me and put me on the spot and say, hey, where's the place to start? Figure out what your income gap is, and you need to know your budget to do that.
I like that. We do have on the website like a little monthly budget planner. What we'll do is in the video somewhere at the bottom of the page where this video is, we'll have a link so that way you can download and get that for free. And that will help you kind of figure out that burn rate, like you said, to kind of assess if you are going to have an income gap in retirement or not. And what we're talking about, again, is only just one out of those four major things pain points that people are talking about in retirement, or that I don't want to say scare people in retirement, but that issues that affect retirement.
We say this over and over. Today's retirement is not your grandfather's retirement anymore.
Right.
And it was a lot easier, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Yep.
And most people, your dad and my dad, they worked for one or two companies.
Yeah.
They retired, then they get, some type of pension program, and they get 70 or 80% of their pay guaranteed for the rest of their lives.
Right.
The planning involved in figuring out if you're going to be okay in retirement or not, yeah, there's planning, but it's most of it is already done for you.
Right.
Today it's very, very different, and you just sort of need to know where you stand.
Yeah, that burden has definitely shifted from employer to employee over the years for figuring that out.
Yeah, in 1978, they literally turned the light switch off on pensions, turned the light switch on to 401ks, and that shifted that burden from, Big Blue taking care of you to you.
Yeah.
Right? Here it is. We'll match you, but you got to figure it out on your own. So, yeah.
That's funny.
It's a big job.
Wow. So this is where, again, the value of speaking with a financial professional kind of comes into play here. Just even if it's just to kind of figure out if you're going to be okay in retirement.
Without a doubt. There's a lot of good practitioners out there that offer, first consultation free of charge, complimentary. We do the same thing.
Yep.
Have a conversation. If you have questions, raise your hand, and hopefully you can find somebody that you can relate to, get along with, to answer those questions. But I think having somebody sort of at your back after you retire, go into retirement, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
I think that helps, retirement with greater confidence, just having that second opinion or somebody just to, like you said,
just to have somebody be able to give you the very matter of fact. Hey, look, you've done a great job. Let me prove it to you why you've done a great job. Even with inflation the way it is, you can spend more and more and you'll be okay. Or maybe you're looking to retire at 65 and you're 60 now. Mm-hmm. You have that conversation with the financial professional. They run an analysis for you, and it actually doesn't look that great. Right. So I'd rather know at 60 that I can't retire at 65.
I was just going to say, yeah.
I got to work an extra couple years. Maybe that's not what I wanted to hear, but it gives me time to sort of plan and fix and just make that a little bit softer landing.
Yep.
Rather than finding out 6 months before, hey, you know what? I can't pull it off.
Yeah. Like you said, or just like, you're 5 years out, maybe just a couple of nudges will put you on track to be able to still retire at 65 if that's what you wanted. I like that. Let's, we'll finish up here. We'll wrap up here, but I like the idea of in future episodes to go over these other issues that are affecting retirement in today's world. Awesome. So look for those in the near future. And if you haven't already done so, head over to afterthepaycheck.com and subscribe to future episodes so you can watch more episodes like this. Until next time, take care.